Hello, welcome to Axiom Flux News. Today's date's the 15th of January 2015 and it's a Thursday. I'm going to kick off with some breaking news. In the past few hours, a developing story over in Belgium. Two terror suspects dead, one in custody after a Belgian raid. Two terror suspects were killed and another was in custody after a police raid Thursday on a cell planning a major imminent attack in Belgium, a magistrate has said. Those targeted in the raid had been under surveillance after recently returning to Belgium from Syria and were close to carrying out an attack on police buildings in the coming hours or days. Magistrate Eric van der Sipt said at the news conference, "The raid in the industrial town of Verviers, about 80 miles southeast of the capital of Brussels, came amid heightened concerns over terrorism in Europe and after last week's attacks in Paris." Van der Sipt said there was no known link to the Paris attacks that left 17 dead. The operation was part of a weeks-long investigation into extremists returning from Syria. The suspects were killed during an intense firefight with authorities on the upper level of a building near a train station in Verviers. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right. I think it's a French word. I'm not very good at French. No civilians or officers were injured. Van der Sipt said witnesses said they heard a series of explosions followed by rapid gunfire. These were extremely well-armed men with automatic weapons, Van der Sipt said. Belgium raised its terror alert to its second highest level and additional anti-terror raids were underway near Brussels. On Wednesday, Islamic State militants in a video threatened attacks on Belgium. The Brussels-based Belgian News, I'm not sure what that is, agency reported. According to AFP, a senior Belgian counter-terrorism official told CNN the terror cell in Verviers had been instructed by the Islamic State to carry out attacks in Belgium and Europe in retaliation for US-led airstrikes against the militants in Syria and Iraq. Of the more than 2,000 people from the European Union suspected of fighting alongside militants in Syria and Iraq, at least 300 have come from tiny Belgium, according to the London-based International Centre for the Study of Radicalism. The nation, known for its banking and diamond-cutting centres, has a population of 11 million and ranks 6th for jihadist fighters, after Turkey, Germany, Britain, France and Russia, the centre said. European leaders have expressed concerns that citizens returning from the Middle East, who are free to cross European borders and have a hardened ideology as well as battlefield experience, pose a grave threat of bringing their war home. Also goes into the Wall Street Journal, citing Belgian media reported earlier Thursday that Amadi Coulibaly, 32, may have bought weapons in Belgium that he used to attack a kosher supermarket in Paris last week, leaving 4 dead. An unnamed Belgian police official told the newspaper that Coulibaly was looking for weapons in Belgium, but it's not clear whether he purchased them there. So the article's interesting. The Belgian man's name has not been released. Boumediene may have fled to Syria. The Charleroi region in more than 70 miles southwest of Verviers and about 40 miles south of Brussels. So there's breaking news. We'll take to what BBC is saying, because these are all this article was 4:14, which is 9:14 in UK time, and the BBC did theirs at 35 minutes past 9. Just going over the same story. Interestingly, this one in the Mirror, this was the earliest one, 4 minutes past 9, and they're saying 3 terrorists have been killed. 3 terrorists have been killed. So some more information must have been released after that, and it's appears now to be 2 and 1 arrested. As much as I've looked into it with the time I've had, the person that appears to have been arrested was well, he actually not handed himself in, but he contacted the police in regards to a car that he was wanting to purchase, or due to purchase, or looking into purchasing, and the car was related or had relations with the common law wife of one of the attackers of Paris. So as he's gone to the police to inform them, they've arrested him, done a raid on his home, searched his premises, and then it's extended from there to what's happened in these articles from the Mirror, the BBC, and the USA Today. Video here is from an amateur uploader. He said, you know, it's a free video to watch, so I'm going to play this if I can. So as you could see there, some fire in the lower floor of that property. You could see several people on the upper levels there walking around. Did have another video. This is the one, just one from the Mirror, showing you the scene afterwards.
Bon, en fait, il y a une grosse demi-heure, 3/4 d'heure, j'ai quitté le TGV chez moi. Et là, j'ai vu une voiture de police qui est passée devant moi, tout feu ouvert. Et 2 secondes après, j'ai entendu 3 grosses détonations. Et puis, comme des rafales. Au début, j'ai pensé à des pétards. Mais 10 secondes après, il y avait une odeur extraordinaire. Et puis, je m'emmenais vers chez moi, ici, rue des Calmes. Ça sortait de plus en plus fort, donc je savais que ce n'était pas des pétards. C'est pour ça que j'étais venu ici. Et en 2 minutes, tout s'est déclenché. Mais je pense que quand j'ai entendu, c'est là que ça se passait. Enfin, vu, je n'ai rien vu.
Tu t'es dit que vous avez fait le tour ou
Non, parce que...
So that's the breaking news on that story. Just less than a year after the attack at the Jewish Museum in 2014, today we've had another raid on what could have been another attack. I think they said it was on a police station or some sort of government buildings. I'll bring you more information on that as it comes. So, the next article, a little bit of a different story. Something that Bob may be interested in. A story that almost, keeps up with the emerald tablets. Batteries not included in this 28,000-year-old stone dildo on show in sex exhibit. There's a picture there. Sex toys are no new thing, but in actual fact date back tens of thousands of years to prehistoric cave dwellers. This smooth stone, the phallus dating back 28,000 years, is now being shown alongside other ancient sex toys in the Institute of Sexology exhibit by the Wellcome Collection in London. Made from 14 different pieces of siltstone and thought to be one of the earliest sex aids ever discovered, the artifact was found in a cave near Ulm in Germany in 2005. It is joined in the exhibit by other objects, documents and research charting the history of the evolving relationship between mankind and sex, including some of the earliest vibrators, sexual imagery, and the groundbreaking work of sexologists such as William Masters and Virginia Johnston. A sculpture of the male sex organ dating to 6000 BC, I think that says, which was thought to ward off evil and ill luck. A carved choke from a ditch at the Marbury Rings in Dorset. And the handle-powered Vendy vibrator massager from the 18th century, France. I'll bring you to another video to finalise this short article here.
Sex toys are no new thing, but in actual fact date back tens of thousands of years to prehistoric cave dwellers. This smooth stone phallus, dating back 28,000 years, is now being shown alongside other ancient sex toys in the Institute of Sexology exhibit by the Wellcome Collection in London. Made from 14 different pieces of siltstone and thought to be one of the earliest sex aids ever discovered, the artifact was found in a cave near Ulm in Germany in 2005. It is joined in the exhibit by other objects, documents and research charting the history of the evolving relationship between mankind and sex, including some of the earliest vibrators, sexual imagery, and the groundbreaking work of sexologists such as William Masters and Virginia Johnston.
Okay, next article. This is female world leaders photoshopped out of Paris rally picture. Probably can't see them there. That's because they've been edited out. The earlier image there, as you can see. Let's see if we can make it a little bit larger. I'll wait on a minute. There you go. You'll see Merkel there. Merkel's disappeared. See Merkel there. I don't see him anymore. She should be here. So apparently in this article, An ultra-Orthodox Jewish newspaper is under fire after printing a photo of the world leaders at the Paris rally, but with all the women photoshopped out. The image, which ran on the front page of the conservative Israeli Daily, the announcer, is missing German Chancellor Angela Merkel, Paris Mayor Anne Hidalgo, and EU Foreign Affairs Security Chief Federica Mogherini. Helle Thorning-Schmidt, the Danish Prime Minister, has been cropped so only her hand is in the shot. Paper has been accused of disrespecting the Unity March, which took place on Sunday in the wake of the murder of 17 people in Paris last week. Aside from refusing to print photographs of women, Hamiveza apparently refuses even to print women's names. The apparent doctrine of the image was brought to light by Israeli news site Allah.com. So I'm not sure really what this is all about. Leave us a comment. Let us know your thoughts. And to me, final article. Pope on the Charlie Hebdo. There are limits to free expression. Aboard the papal plane, Pope Francis said Thursday today there are limits to freedom of speech, especially when it insults or ridicules someone's faith. He spoke about the Paris terror attacks while en route to the Philippines, defending free speech as not only a fundamental human right, but a duty to speak one's mind for the sake of the common good. But he said there were limits. By way of example, he referred to Alberto Gaspari, who organizes the papal trips and was standing by his side aboard the plane. If my good friend Dr. Gaspari says a curse word against my mother, he can expect a punch. Francis said, half jokingly, throwing a mock punch his way. It's normal. You cannot provoke. You cannot insult the faith of others. You cannot make fun of the faith of others. His pretend punch aside, Francis by no means said the violent attack on Charlie Hebdo was justified. Quite the opposite. He said such horrific violence in God's name couldn't be justified and was an aberration, but he said a reaction of some sort was to be expected. Many people around the world have defended the right of satirical magazine Charlie Hebdo to publish inflammatory cartoons of the Prophet Muhammad in the wake of the massacre by Islamic extremists at its Paris offices and subsequent attacks on a kosher supermarket in which 3 gunmen killed 17 people. Others, though, have noted that in virtually all societies, freedom of speech has its limits, from laws against Holocaust denial to racially motivated hate speech. Recently, the Vatican and 4 prominent French imams issued a joint declaration that, while denouncing the Paris attacks, urged the media to treat religions with respect. Francis, who has called on Muslim leaders in particular to speak out against Islamic extremism, went a step further on Thursday when asked by a French journalist about whether there were limits when freedom of expression meets freedom of religion. Open quote, there are so many people who speak badly about religions or other religions, who make fun of them, who make a game out of the religions of others, he said. They are provocateurs, and what happens to them is what would happen to Dr. Gaspari if he says a curse word against my mother. There is a limit, end quote. In the wake of the Paris attacks, the Vatican has sought to downplay reports that it is a potential target for Islamic extremists, saying it is being vigilant but has received no specific threat. Francis said he was concerned primarily for the safety of the faithful who come to see him in droves, and said he had spoken to Vatican security officials who are taking prudent and secure measures. I am worried, but you know I have a defect. A good dose of carelessness. I'm careless about these things, he said, but he admitted that in his prayers he had asked that if something were to happen to him, it doesn't hurt, because I'm not very courageous when it comes to pain. I'm very timid. He added, I'm in God's hands. So, yes, over in the Philippines, the Pope has been talking about the freedom of expression, freedom of speech, especially when it insults or ridicules someone's faith, that they are limits. So what do you think, guys? Anything to add on to this? Well, I'm touching it.
Well, it's interesting how it's like who has made the game, you know? Goes back to what we talk about sometimes, and that's responsibility and taking liability. And it's time for some of these religious leaders to step up to the plate and start taking responsibility, and start accepting the blame where it's due.
What about you, Andy? Any comments? Any thoughts?
About the Belgium break-in terrorist attacks. Again, they're quoting these terrorists from Islamic State who are in Syria, and they were these, supposedly against the American Air Force and the coalition, whatever it is, bombing them in Syria. Yet at the same time, it's too confusing for me. I can't keep up with it, because 1 minute the Free Syrian Army are the Islamic State terrorists, or they are a different faction in there fighting the Islamic Free Syrian Army, and then you've got Assad's army. I mean, what the hell is going on? I mean, it just doesn't. None of this adds up, really. Not, apart from
There's just so many groups involved, huh?
Well, yeah. Listen.
And they just seem to grow by the day. It's like today it's ISIS, tomorrow it'll be something else.
Yeah, exactly. It's the Islamic State fighting with the Free Syrian Army to get rid of Assad to create a free living democracy in Syria, or is it for the Islamic State to? Who is where?
Adding to what you said the other day, Andy, when you were saying, why is it these people that carry out these, these attacks and events, they're known to these intelligence, and today, the intelligence that they've gathered over the week has, resulted in what you'd say, should be the case anyway. So, are you happy to see something like this materialising in such way, or is that just a coincidence for you? What would you say?
The whole intelligence gathering, and then coming out after the event when all this the dust has settled, and saying, "Oh, we knew these guys. Yeah, of course we did. Yeah, we knew them. Yeah."
Well, they seem to have acted on it today, and they've done what we should expect if they know about these people and what they're capable of doing. Then is this a good sign? Is it a good thing to see on the telly, on the news, in the mainstream?
Well, to be honest, I didn't see much on the video because it seemed a bit dark to me. But I just heard some French voices shouting and some guns going crack, crack, crack.
Yeah, I'm not too sure if there was guns or if that was part of the fire. It is a little bit hard to tell, but we'll have to see which other videos come out in the hours to come.
Yeah, well, I mean, this is it. It's early days again, and we don't, there's nothing there to sort of to report There's nothing you can. There's nothing conclusive there, is there, at the moment? So I say it's too early.
No, they've not linked it. They've not said it's linked to any attacks in Paris. It was just
And
a separate operation.
Yeah. And as for the well, I won't comment on the second one, although phallic stone, made of metals and that of through previous civilizations. Some call them fertility, offered them to the ground, phallic things for good crops the following. So we move on from that one. And as for the we're gonna.
It predates the Emerald Tablets. That's the reason why I chose that article.
Yeah, well, the other thing is shock, horror. You know, these people had sexual genitalia and they had sex. Wow, how could they have done that so long? Anyway, yeah.
It's a phallic symbol.
That's it.
They weren't used as those stupid articles described them. Definitely not most of them. They're not sex toys as people look at it today.
No.
It was actually a part of their spiritual worship practice. And, you know, in parts of the world today, they still do this. It's called the lingam. They pour oil and butter on it and milk on it. And it's a phallic symbol. Those, what do you call it? Those things in front of Washington and the one in the Vatican and the obelisks. That's the same thing. It's a phallic symbol.
Yeah. It was interesting after watching a bit of the box.
But I mean, wow, what an ignorant article that person's is. Are they just clueless?
Did you see the heart shape that they were made out of the stone?
Right.
It was shaped in a heart.
And, you know, that was an object they would have had like in a kind of a temple ground area.
Yeah.
That's not something they had on their dinner table or in their bedroom.
No.
You know, so. Anyways, that shoddy article.
Okay, I'm finished on my side, guys. It's over to you, Andy, if you're ready.
Okay. There we go. Then we'll actually follow on. Hopefully you can see that. Yeah.
Yep, got that.
It's following on from your last article as I read the Pope. And you mentioned that he was in the Philippines.
I did, Andy, yeah. That's correct.
He was saying that, you know, people should be able to show their freedom of speech or whatever, but at the same time, you know. Anyway, basically, but it's okay. But, you know, the countries he's visiting, for the countries not to show their poor kids that are on the streets that are begging for food and all this business. No, you can't. We can't have them in the way, can't? It's too embarrassing for the Pope to visit in his Pope-mobile. Anyway, children being caged to keep the streets clean for the Pope. It is expected that 6 million people will attend an open-air mass conducted by Pope Francis in Manila on Sunday, but before the Pope arrives, the children are being rounded up and detained in the most shocking conditions. The Mail Online reports street children as young as 5 are being caged in brutal detention centres alongside adult criminals in a cynical drive to smarten up the Philippines capital ahead of the visit by Pope Francis this week. Hundreds of boys and girls have been rounded up from doorways and roadsides by police and officials and put behind bars in recent weeks to make the poverty-racked city more presentable when Pope Francis arrives tomorrow, a Mail Online investigation has found. In a blatant abuse of the country's own children protection laws, the terrified children are locked up in filthy detention centres where they sleep on concrete floors and where many of them are beaten or abused by their older inmates and adult prisoners, and in some cases starved and changed to pillars. But that's all right. Get them out of the way, because Pope Francis is coming. You can't have this sort of thing. You can't have these sort of people on the street when he's driving past in his bulletproof Pope-mobile, waving his hand. So there you go. That's just follow on from your little bit about what he was saying about freedom of speech, and
That's interesting, Andy, because I've not, none of that's been shown on the mainstream. It's been
yeah,
the article that I basically covered.
as it would do. Well, you see, basically, this is no different to what they do in Brazil with the sewer children. Oh, and the beggars on Copacabana Beach. I mean, they done it in the World Cup the other year. They cleared the whole beach from homeless. They were banned from the front of the beach. They were banned from every area. The police locked them up. And also the sewer children. There's thousands of kids, or hundreds of thousands. Well, probably thousands. I don't know. The numbers could be ridiculously high, where they live from day to day from the stuff that gets washed down the sewers, and that's what they eat. And Sao Paulo, and so basically, and they've done that in the World Cup, and also they make sure every year that they're also got out of the way for the Formula One Grand Prix there every year. Can't be having these people on the street when these high society big wheelers come into town. So there we go. So really, no, the article speaks for itself, but it's not just the Philippines. They do it all over the world, wherever these visits from the higher echelons people seem to come round or whatever. But anyway, moving on from there, we've got a little bit about Mr. Putin here. Putin strikes back. Russia cuts off European gas supplies. Starts selling the dollars. The decision has been made. This is an article written yesterday. I missed it. By Matt. Vladimir Putin has been silent lately, but if anyone thought he had been shamed into defeat or marginalized, then think again. In the last few hours, Russia has announced two key strategic decisions that show they are not going to stand idly by while their economy and their way of life are destroyed by Western forces. First, presumably in response to stiff sanctions levelled by the United States and the European Union after the annexation of Crimea last year, Russia has cut off 60% of Europe's gas supplies right in the middle of winter. This has caused an almost immediate crisis in 6 European nations that have seen a complete cut-off to their supplies: Bulgaria, Greece, Macedonia, Romania, Croatia and Turkey, with more to follow according to reports via Zero Hedge. The effect has been almost instantaneous. Without Russia, residents across Europe have no way of staying warm. Vladimir Putin ordered the Russian state energy giant Gazprom to cut supplies to and through Ukraine, amid accusations, according to the Daily Mail, that its neighbour has been siphoning off and stealing Russian gas. Due to these transit risks for European consumers in the territory of Ukraine, Gazprom cut gas exports to Europe by 60%, plunging the continent into an energy crisis within hours, perhaps explaining the explosion higher in natural gas prices and oil brackets today, as gas companies in Ukraine confirmed that Russia had cut off supply, and 6 countries reported a complete shut-off of Russian gas. The EU raged that the sudden cut-off to some of its members' countries was completely unacceptable, but Gazprom CEO Alexei Miller later added that Russia plans to shift all its natural gas flows crossing Ukraine to a route via Turkey, and Russian Energy Minister Alexander Novak stated unequivocally, "The decision has been made." Russia has taken similar steps in the past because of non-payment, but turned the gas supplies back on once deals were reached. This time, however, there won't be a deal. Russia says it will deliver the gas through Turkey, and it's up to the European Union to build the infrastructure that will transport it to the rest of the continent, as noted by Bloomberg. Transit risks for European consumers on the territory of Ukraine remain. Miller said in an email statement, "There are no options except for the planned Turkish Street link," he said. "We have informed our European partners. Now it's up to them to put in place necessary infrastructure starting from the Turkish-Greek border," Miller said. "The decision has been made," Novak said. "We are diversifying and eliminating the risk of unreliable countries that caused problems in the past years, including for European consumers. Europe, of course, does not have the necessary infrastructure in place for this, and Vladimir Putin most certainly knew this before he shut off the spigots. Second, and perhaps even more significant than the overt move to show Europe who's boss, Putin took the direct shot at the United States, also from Zero Hedge. Bloomberg reports Russia may unseal its $88 billion reserve fund and convert some of its foreign currency holdings into rubles. The latest government effort to prop up an economy veering into its worst slump since 2009. These are dollars which Russia would have otherwise recycled into its US-denominated assets. Instead, Russia will purchase even more rubles and use the proceeds for FX and economic stabilization purposes. Together with the central bank, we are selling a part of our foreign currency reserves, Finance Minister Anton Sulinov said in Moscow today. We'll get rubles and place them in deposits for banks, giving liquidity to the economy. Call it less than amicable divorce. Call it what you will. What it is Russia violently leaving the ranks of countries that exchange crude for US paper. What will see strategic moves that will eventually catalyze the next great war. And make no mistake, this is exactly what's in store for the world should these escalations continue. This article has been controlled by the FGH plan, whatever it is. There you go. So that's been a bit quiet from the mainstream, hasn't it? Or unless you've read anything about it, PJ or Book. But there you go.
Well, I think it was the other day, yesterday, the day we was talking about Rouhani in Iran and what he was saying about the oil prices and how the countries would suffer from their actions.
Yeah, I think so, and I think well, I mean, what choice they got, really?
I mean, currently, as far as I'm aware, UK doesn't get any gas from Russia, so how that'd affect us, I'd be interested to know. But apart from the sell to everybody in Europe or those countries stated in the article, they're sure to be affected, no doubt. I'd see it as well, to me, it looks like some sort of scare game going off. Like, I can't ever see this sort of game being played with the nuclear sort of threat side. But gas, yeah, sure. Putin's going to turn it off if he if he feels like he should, and that's exactly what it appears to be the case.
Well, I mean, they've done a big mega deal with China last year. I mean, why fritter away their resources of energy, Russia, when they can give it to somebody who's going to trade nice and properly with them, like China? So, it's part of the currency wars. It's part of the currency wars that have been going on for quite a while now, but not really reported on.
I think today BP have announced some job cuts.
Yeah, they have. That's right. But I said, don't worry about that, because they're mostly Scottish folk.
Well,
That would put. It would be nice if Steve was in here and he could have his word on that. But I mean, yeah, what a way to treat people, But this was this was bound to happen with the pressure they've put on the driving the barrel of oil price down, isn't it? But it's it's a game. It's going to carry on. It'll carry on throughout 2015 and get even more extreme, I think. But it's the currency wars, and maybe I think it's just a sign of the times. Like I said before, these articles can't help keep bringing them up because they don't seem to be reported too much on the mainstream. So it's good to only their side of it, of course, but it's good to get another side of it, not really. So.
Yeah, and I think the other advantage that Putin has is that he gets to play, the role he's playing is because the Western media is just run by a complete bunch of doofuses. So, he can just remain silent for the most part.
Well, I think he's quite a
He's not going to take part in the mudslinging game.
no.
Well,
He's quite a clever guy, I think. As he shows with the picture there with the chess pieces, you know what I mean?
Oh, he was head of Russian intelligence before, wasn't he?
I'm trying to work out, guys, who it is who is actually playing chess with.
He was head of Russian intelligence before, I believe.
KGB, yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, you got Iraq, Mr. Cameron.
You look at all the other world presidents and prime ministers, like most of them. You look at their background, and they come from like a business type or some other kind of weird backgrounds. Like, Hillary Clinton comes from a patent owning school or something, degree or something like that.
Yeah.
It's just bizarre. Like, the credentials don't match up for where they are.
But then they don't really.
At least Putin's got some credentials,
Yeah. Well, you see that's right. They don't really need them, do they? Because they just do what they're told.
Well, I guess the media is their credential.
Yeah. Anyway, that's my articles tonight. So I'll put it over to you, Brock. And we'll stop sharing the screen. And there we go.
All right. There we go. Is that on now?
Not that I can see, no. Oh, wait on. Yep, something's coming up. Black screen. Still a black screen there, Brock. You might want to turn your screen share off and bring your browser up beforehand.
It won't even let me stop. Oh, well, don't worry, but you can just cut it out, PJ. I didn't have much anyway.
You might have got a little plug-in crashing on you or something there. Does it work through Skype? Do you want to try it through Skype and then...
Don't worry about it.
Okay, no problem.
Yeah.
Alright guys, thanks for joining us. We'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Flux News.